good afternoon, good evening, good morning. We have been broadcasting on this platform every day, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. But we want to try something new starting this Saturday, have an open discussion where we invite members of the public to join us. The link is not going to change. We'll use the same link. We'll be posting it every so often on the screen as well. So those of you who want to join in future, they can always go back to it and copy it. Thank you very much. Tonight we want to talk on, in general terms, on Zimbabwe is a failed state. Why are we a failed state? I thought I would start with a video clip of the lady who used to be the chairperson of Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, speaking on corruption and how serious it is.
Remains one of the greatest barricades to the resuscitation of an economic thriving Zimbabwe and hinders the prospects of the attainment of our Vision 2030. So if we don't fight corruption, we may not be able to see a successful Vision 2030 coming into fruition. As a result of these illicit flows, governments are left with little or no financial resources to channel towards development and the provision of basic services such as health and education. What hurts the most is the fact that the ordinary citizenry is the most affected as a result of corruption. It is estimated, as has already been said, that Zimbabwe, we are losing 1.8 billion United States dollars annually due to corruption. That is a huge sum of money, and you can imagine what $1.8 billion could do. Such illicit financial flows are unacceptable and bleed the economy of revenue meant to promote sustainable economic development and the betterment of the livelihoods of all Zimbabweans. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, that we totally eradicate corruption in Zimbabwe and recover stolen assets.
Well, Ben, what do you say to that one?
There's a big difference for me between saying and doing. And I think this is where our problem as Zimbabwe lies. We like to say so much, but do very, very little or nothing at all. There are so many symptoms that can be brought up and stated that this is the reason why Zimbabwe has failed. I mean, Zimbabwe has failed in almost all departments. So you can pick whether it be corruption, it could be, so many things. But what are we doing to address any of that? And here is a lady that is a chairperson of Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, and she's saying the right words. But then the question is, what have you done about it? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So for me, that is the number one problem with Zimbabweans. We love to say much, but do very little or nothing at all.
Well, I think one of the points that you mentioned there is correct. In this particular case, it should be noted here that when that lady was the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZACC, her husband was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was in the army. He was involved, in fact, he was the spokesperson of the coup, the 2017 military coup. He was in the army. And recently, people have been talking about 15 billion US dollars in diamond revenue disappearing. It is no secret that the top brass in the army had their own diamond mining concession in Shiadzo and Marange. And therefore then him and VP Wenger and others in the army would have had their share of that money. The question then is, how can you then appoint the wife of one of the looters to chair the Anti-Corruption Commission? You can't be serious. You can't seriously expect she's going to take her own husband to task on where have you been getting the money. So immediately you say to yourself, she's right in saying unless we do something about it, but she in herself knows that the regime is not doing anything about it. Because if they were serious about doing something about it, they would have never appointed her.
You know, when you look at, for me, when you look at Zimbabwe, I think we're in a sorry place, and I don't see us actually coming out of this dark spot anytime soon, because at each turn, I mean, you can divide it into different categories. For example, within ZANU PF itself, the opposition and the people, the citizens, we know what is happening. You know, we have been told. I mean, a lot of organizations that care about our well-being have even went as far as making documentaries just to show Zimbabweans, hey guys, this is what is happening to your wealth, be it minerals or cash. This is what is happening. This is how it is being, you know, siphoned out of the country, how certain individuals are living large, you know. It came a documentary, for example, the Gold Mafia documentary. We spoke about it. Everybody, was quite upset. Just for the moment, within a week, everybody was back to normal. Oh, well, it's one of those things. It just shows that, it was a wasted effort by those that went through all the hassle to uncover such a very, very important discovery. What, again, the question is, what did we do about it? We just spoke about it in our small little circles and our small little WhatsApp groups, and we forgot about it. To me, it says a lot. And it says we are not ready. We don't want to come out. We are comfortable in this, black pocket that we are in. It's become a home. We have accepted it, and we are working, our way in it. Sort of like we have adapted to it. which is sad. It's really, really sad for me.
Yeah, it is a pity. I mean, the other thing, the other aspect here is that, well, she's admitting that corruption is a serious problem. It's interesting to note that most Zimbabweans have been brainwashed into believing that Zimbabwe's economic problems are caused by sanctions. This issue has been discussed so many times from all different angles, and yet some people still believe that sanctions is a problem. And so they've been clamoring about, oh, must lift, the sanctions must be lifted, etc. It has just become a convenient excuse by the leaders to hide the real problem, which is corruption. But the other aspect I would like to mention while I'm still at it is the fact that why are ordinary Zimbabweans spending all their time, energy, sweat, and toil campaigning that we should lift the sanctions, which is not in their control? The sanctions were imposed by the West. As much as some people may not agree with them, they did not consult the ordinary Zimbabwean whether or not to impose the sanctions. And after all these years of campaigning to have the sanctions removed, the sanctions are still there. The sanctions are not in our control. Why have Zimbabweans not been focusing on the matters that they are in their own control? The looting that we are talking about here, the corruption, is being done by Zimbabweans or people who are in Zimbabwe and who should be accountable to the people of Zimbabwe. So this is another aspect of why we are a failed state. We seem to love spending all our time and energy on matters that we have got very little control over, while at the same time neglecting those issues that are within our control.
I was listening to outspoken Mr. Maponga during the week, and he said something that is quite eye opening and very true. That if you find out that you know you were just an ordinary guy or an ordinary person before you got into government, or got a ministerial job, and once you get that job and then you become a millionaire, questions should be asked. Because on a government salary, it is very, very difficult for you to become a millionaire. No matter if you are the minister of finance, I'm sure your money will not, your salary will not get you to that stage. But then now you find in Zimbabwe, almost all millionaires are within ZANU PF rank and fire. Some even ministers, some MPs actually are millionaires. And then the question is, how much do you really earn a month to be getting to that status? That alone should just show that surely there is somewhere else that you are getting the money from. Our problem is that, again, is that we can have all this information, but then the question is, what are we doing about it? Which is nothing. The maximum we can do is discuss it around our circles when the story is just brought up. A few moments later or a few weeks later, it dies down. But again, we may talk about corruption, but corruption is really not the problem in Zimbabwe. It's a symptom. It's not the problem. In Shona we say, chichaita kuti musoro uteme. And I think personally, it comes down to good governance. We lack that. And the reason why we do not have good governance is because we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. We have failed to provide ourselves with a government that is for the people and by the people. That is our problem.
Well, I would have put it slightly differently. I would have said you cannot end corruption without first ending the political system that created it and whose continued survival depends on it, on corruption. Whether people want to admit it or not, the truth of the matter is a regime like ZANU-PF is built on corruption. Ever since the party took office, Mugabe has always tried to bribe those around him to buy their loyalty, something called political patronage. And in other sectors, like parastatals, he has promoted or appointed those who are loyal to him, regardless of their competence. Indeed, even some of the competent individuals, when you become a minister in ZANU-PF, if you want to keep your job, you would tone down so that you do not appear to be outperforming the boss. It's in your interest to tone down. Mugabe was renowned for his obsession with control. He dictated everything. He wanted to be the one in control of everything. And I think Mnangagwa is no different. Both of them were doing it out of insecurity. Their own position was only secure by surrounding themselves with people who are blindly loyal to them. And this is what has killed the country. Mnangagwa, when he took over in 2017, he said zero tolerance to corruption. But a few months down the line, he was the one who was to admit that it is not possible to stamp out corruption. Because those who got him into power, if he threatened to stamp out corruption, he will be booted out in no time at all. That is a problem with the regime we have. The only way we can end corruption is by addressing the fundamental problem that we have leaders who are not accountable to the people. They are accountable to those who are in positions of power and authority, who can keep them in power or take them out. There lies the problem.
I personally would look at it in a slightly different way. You are very right to say that, but then I would not expect ZANU PF to change their ways or to all of a sudden realize that whatever they are doing is bad. I think ZANU PF has passed the stage of a point of no return. They they're just done. You know, it's who they are now. It is for us, the people, to do or to fix this mess by ourselves and for ourselves. But the problem here is, you know, I look at the past, 2023 elections that we held, and different observer missions that came to observe our election and how we did our things, condemned the process. And everybody in Zimbabwe was pretty happy. SADC has taken a stance. SADC called for an extraordinary meeting. SADC is doing something. Everybody was very happy. And even when the report was being given, everybody was very happy. But then they gave us recommendations in that same report. And after, I remember, Dr. Mumba gave, an interview after and told us what needed to be done. But you will find out that all of a sudden we became deaf, dumb, and blind. Whatever they had to say to help us get out of the mess, we just could not figure it out. We just didn't want to hear about it, and nobody spoke about it. Again, it comes down to, are we ready, or do we want to get ourselves out of this hellhole we are in? And it really worries me, because here is somebody that goes in front of a mirror to check if there is any blemish on it. You check in the mirror and you find there is spots that need to be cleaned out. And then you close your eyes and you walk away. There is nothing that is going to change. That is exactly what I think Zimbabweans are doing. We know the problem, but we just don't want the solution. Finally, somebody will say, somebody has given you the answers to a math equation that you was troubling you, and then you don't want that answer. You want to think outside the box. That is what the excuse Zimbabweans are saying. Let's think outside the box. Let's do something extraordinary. The question again is, do we really need to go and do the extraordinary when the solution is right in front of us? I think we are not ready for it. And this is why we are 45 and in counting, stuck with ZANU-PF.
I agree with that point completely. In my view, I would say it brings out to the issue that we've raised on this platform several times. Why do we keep participating in an election process that we already know is flawed? That we already know that if you participate, ZANU-PF will win, you only give ZANU-PF legitimacy, and you perpetuate your own suffering. The opposition, MDC, CCC leaders themselves have been participating in these flawed elections out of greed, because they know ZANU-PF will give away a few gravy train seats, and they are quite happy with that. Here is Professor Jonathan Moyo explaining why, without reforms, ZANU-PF will always win the elections. Because ZEC, the main body tasked to implement, to hold elections, is corrupt to the core.
Chigumba is the mother of the rigging, and Malaba is the father of the rigging. Endorsed what the mother was doing. It is actually scandalous. You see, ZEC is not supposed to be controlled by any authority.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
independent. It is an independent constitutional body. In fact, independent commission. It's a Chapter 12 institution. But ZEC did not run anything important. It never did. The computers were run by AFRICOM. The registration, accreditation, and so forth were run by a CIO company. So between the CIO and the army, they ran the processes, the operations, using their instruments. Either Matsanga, who is actually active, she's employed. She joined the, she was not joined, she was seconded to the electoral body in 2008 as a divisional intelligence officer. Now she is a director in the CIO. As we speak right now, she's a director, and she was congratulated and rewarded for rigging the 2018 election. And she was given a house in Borodale, a posh mansion in there. So there is a serious problem that whereas on paper, ZEC is supposed to be an independent constitutional body that runs elections transparently, efficiently, and impartially. No, it doesn't. It doesn't because it does not even itself run. The elections are run for ZEC by the Securocrat.
I think that point could never be overemphasized. ZANU-PF has corrupted our democratic institutions, including ZEC, the police, the army, and so forth. To keep participating in an election process which you know you will never win is insanity. Particularly 45 years after independence. We are still struggling to hold free, fair, and credible elections. That is indeed very sad, very tragic. We keep participating in these flawed elections because the MDC, CCC have been conning people into believing that they can win rigged elections, which is, of course, nonsense. That people believed it. And right now, our biggest problem is that we are going to 2028. As of today, according to Chamisa's posting in the last few days, is launching his new party. And he will be telling people that he's going to win big in 2028. And if people believe him, they will participate in yet another flawed electoral process. And we are back to where we are today. The number one target, the number one task before the people of Zimbabwe is to make sure that we do not make the same mistake of participating in flawed elections in 2028. That, I'll be the first one to admit, is easier said than done. Because I know that Zimbabweans are incredibly naive and gullible. They were conned to participate in flawed elections in 2013, 2018, and 2023. I think it's not rocket science that the chances are they'll be conned again in their millions to participate in 2028. The challenge is on all of us to make sure that that does not happen. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
You know, in closing, I would want to say the opposition admitted that it is futile to continue participating in rigged elections. And like I said from the very beginning, easier said than done. They acknowledge that the whole process is flawed. So flawed, the only logical step is to withdraw. That is David Coulter. Tendai Biti also said the same thing. At some point, Nelson Chamisa also said the same thing. Morgan Tsvangirai said the same thing, but they never stopped participating, knowing fully well ZANU-PF was going to rig and get away with it. And again, this week, you know, I was looking at the composition of ZEC. You know, I don't know if it is just our refusal to admit it or just us being silly. All the commissioners in ZEC are children of ZANU-PF top dogs. All of them. They even share the same name. It's not that we are looking for the cousin. No, they share the same name. And then my question is, if you really think that you can win rigged elections, do you think a child will go against their father or their mother? Or it's even more difficult because they're going to lose a job as well. They would risk their relationship with their parents. They're going to risk their job themselves and obviously the loot. I mean, who are we kidding? Elections in Zimbabwe, I think it was made very clear, and it has been made very clear for a very long time. They are rigged. And everybody else in the international community sees that and has been telling us that. Fix this, fix that, fix this, fix that, for you to have free, fair, and credible elections. But again, Zimbabweans, when it comes to that statement, they are deaf, they are blind, and they cannot speak. So now the question is, do we really want to fix our problem? Or have we become so comfortable that we have adapted to the stench? Food for thought.
Thank you very much, Ben. Like I said, this is a new format. Every Saturday, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time, we would like to host a discussion where we invite members of the public to join us. The link is not going to change. The link you see at the bottom of your screen there, we'll use the same link every Saturday. So even if you join or listen to this afterwards when we've stopped the live transmission, in future, every Saturday, you can join using that link, and you should be able to join us. Thanks to those who were able to join us tonight, and thank you very much, Ben, and our admin. We'll see you tomorrow. It will be just the usual short discussion, and then we close. But next Saturday, it will be panel discussion. So those who are available, we encourage you to join us and have your say on topic of the day or the issues that you may want to raise, that we may have raised in the past or we should have raised in the past. Thanks again, everybody, and have a good night.